Hello and welcome to another New York Jets pregame show. I am Matt O'Leary, joined as always by my good friend Connor Long. Connor, how goes it this morning?
Matt, I am doing well. Hopefully this team does not ruin my day. Got the Nets game up on my other monitor. Third preseason game of the year. In China, they're playing well against Phoenix. Look, could we go 0-3 today, Matt? I got the Nets playing now. We got the Jets obviously kicking off at 9:30 a.m. and then I'm going to the Ranger game tonight. So I think I'm either going to be 3-0 or 0-3. I doubt there's going to be an in-between, and I think it's leaning more 0-3 because the Jets, well, they never deliver their end of the bargain.
No, not usually, but we got to give you a more positive mindset. Let's 3-0 start. It's early. It's 7:34 in the morning. I don't know how many other, Jet, not only Jet fans, but just NFL fans there are that would be waking up at 7:30 in the morning to do a pregame show for an 0-5 football team, very soon to be 0-6. Connor.
Very soon, Matt. I think this is going to be the toughest test the Jets have had all year. And just when you talk about what the Denver Broncos pose overall as a team, I mean, you start at the defense. This is, I think, the best defense in the league. They lead the league in sacks. It's 6 sacks against Jalen Hurts last week, Matt, on over 13 pressures. And listen to this for a stat. 5 of their 6 sacks against Hurts last week came on just on a traditional 4-man rush. They don't need to send extra pass rushers to get to the quarterback to create trouble and ultimately wreak havoc for the quarterback there. And we all know Justin Fields, his tendency to hold on to the ball for way too long in the pocket. He continues to hold on the ball for more than 3 seconds, too indecisive with his reads. This game can get out of hand real early. So I think this is one of the toughest tests the Jets have seen all year. It's coming across the pond, and it's coming against a very, very good Denver Broncos team that just upset the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles a week ago.
Yeah, and I think this presents a really tough matchup for the New York Jets. And there's been other tough matchups on the schedule. Like, I don't want to pretend like this is their first hard game of the year. That's not the case. But they lead the league in sacks. They have 21 sacks so far this year. And you have a quarterback who, unfortunately, part of his game is he holds onto the ball for a long time. The offensive line didn't play as well as it was previously in the year. This past week against Dallas, that was a defense that really doesn't get pressure on the quarterback, and they did against the Jets this past week. So I think it's a legitimate concern for, you ask yourself, what's this offense going to look like if Denver's getting the pressure on the quarterback that we know that they can? Plus, the Jets, we know they only have one wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, and they're going up against the best corner in football in Pat Surtain. So good luck to the Jets offense today.
Most definitely. And, when you talk about the remainder of the Jets offense and, other things they need to do offensively to try to pull up an upset as 7.5-point underdogs, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, they need to stay balanced between the run and the pass. You go up against teams like the Miami Dolphins. You go up against teams like the Dallas Cowboys, who maybe don't have the league's strongest defense. And the Jets were able to run the ball down their throats 4 or 5 times, get momentum. That's what we saw the opening drive, Matt, against the Dolphins on Monday Night Football in Week 4. You go up against such a great defense in the Denver Broncos today. The Jets aren't going to have the ability to do that. They're going to need to stay balanced between the run and the pass today. They're going to have to mix it up. This is going to be a big game for offensive coordinator and offensive play caller Tanner Engstrand, who's certainly given a reason for us to be hopeful about this offense, Matt. But he's going to have a tough time scheming against a very, very, very stout Denver Broncos defense.
Yeah, it's, again, presents some issues for this Jets team, which you kind of, when you're 0-5, you're just looking for a break, right? Like, can this team finally get something to go their way? And matchup-wise, it's one of their tougher matchups of the year, I think. Yes. Not that they don't have, like Buffalo's obviously a great team. Tampa Bay, really good football team. But for what the Jets are trying to do in their game and the personnel that they have, this is about as bad as it gets for them. So even when I was more optimistic at the beginning of the year, when I predicted a 7-win season for the Jets, which is still a losing record, might I add.
The best they've done in, since 2015, Matt. So
right.
You're fairly optimistic.
That would have been fairly optimistic, right? But this was not one of those games that I circled and thought, okay, like, yeah, the Jets have a shot in this one. Now, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. Maybe London does something weird, man. For Denver, it was a long trip. They flew to Philly, flew back to Denver, then flew to London. Maybe you get some wonky stuff, but on paper, this does not look like it should be a close game.
We're already resorting to the every given Sunday one, Matt. We're already resorting to that week 6. We have to. That's the only reason for hope. That's the only way we can that's the only way we could find any sort of sensible, logical hope with this team. We resort to the any given Sunday method. And look, I think that's certainly viable to be taken seriously at this point, Matt. The Jets need to win. The Jets have been a get right opponent for 60 years now. They need to get a win today to just not be the laughing stock of the league for a week. Do it against the Denver Broncos team. I mean, the Browns accidentally pushed, last week to the final buzzer in London. Like, teams can play well. The Browns accidentally beat the Green Bay Packers, in week 2 or whatever it was of this season. So teams are able to play. Teams are able to get wins. The Jets are the only team in the NFL without a win right now. It's hard to pick them. The Tennessee Titans, heck, Matt, even got a win last week against the Arizona Cardinals after Amari DiMercato pulled a Malachi Corley at the goal line. And by the way, finding their head coach, Matt, could you imagine the revolt that this fan base would have had if Aaron Glenn chewed out, say, Khalil Herbert for doing that at the goal line? So that was an intriguing decision there.
Yeah, definitely an intriguing decision. I'm with you on that. I think it's probably a good idea for a coach, not to put hands on a player. That's a way to avoid getting fined, but it does make the situation a little bit awkward now, right?
Definitely. Especially like if you're a running back fighting for playing time like that. Like, how does that work? Like, how do you approach your head coach as well? So that was certainly an interesting situation. So my kind of point with that is it could be worse, Jet fans. We could be in a situation like that. We could be in a situation where our head coach, suppose you're a Miami Dolphins fan, and Mike McDaniel is blaming the defensive coordinator. Now, speaking of the defensive coordinator,
Good
Steve
transition.
Wilks, Matt, thank you. I appreciate it. Robert Saleh was canned. I know he's obviously in a different position than Wilks, head coach of the team, very high expectations. He was canned after a 2-3 start last year that I think was highly perpetuated by the fact they were just unready and unprepared in the game that I was at last year in London against the Minnesota Vikings. And now we know how important these London matchups are for Woody. He owns stake, obviously, now in Crystal Palace, a Premier League team based in London. He has a ton of buddies over in the UK. So this is like a very important game for Woody when it comes to kind of his social status, if you will, over in the UK and how he is viewed, his reputation as an owner over there with his friends and, the Crystal Palace fan base, of course, as well. So do you think there's a world where, the Jets allow 35 points today? Wilks is gone tomorrow morning.
I love how bluntly you said it, but it's fair because they've given up 30 points almost every game. So it's not like this hot take like, man, the defense is going to really stink it up today. That's going to be a surprise. No, they've done it every week. They gave up 37 last week. So 35 would be an improvement, Connor. I don't think he would be flat out fired, but it would not shock me to see him go the Nathaniel Hackett route where he just kind of is playing somewhere. Like, I don't know what he'll do his day to day. I don't know what he does, where he is on game day.
Bring Glenn coffee.
Yeah. Kind of just goes away for a little bit without officially being fired until the end of the year. That I think is a more likely scenario than him like actually getting the axe 6 weeks into the season.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea there. On who do you promote? That becomes the question. I'd assume Eric Washington, their defensive line coach, would have to be the next in line. He has experience as a defensive coordinator, served as the Bears DC last year. They need to just change something up defensively. And I wrote a column about this yesterday for Jets X Factor, and it was titled Inside the New York Jets Defensive Woes. Poor coaching or overrated talent. Now, it was super interesting because I think a lot of people have been quick to blame Wilks, and I think some of the criticisms are warranted. But at the same time, Matt, you can't blame him for the fact that Michael Carter II, the fact that that Jamie and Sherwood, those two players who were key contributors last year, of course, and years prior, Jamie and Sherwood, who this regime gave a bag in the offseason, have just completely fallen off a cliff. You can't blame him for the fact that Braden McGregor, Tyler Barron, and Michael Clemens are his next 3 edge rushers in line. That's on Darren Muji. What you can blame him for is blitzing Baker Mayfield 40% of the time in week 3 and letting him pick apart one-on-one matchups downfield. What you can blame him for is his schematic stubbornness and him having a 36.2% blitz rate and continuing to not be able to get home on the blitz and allowing these big plays to be made all the way down the field. So I think Wilkes certainly deserves a lot of criticism, and he's been far from perfect. But I also think it's important to acknowledge the fact that I think this roster on defense especially was very, very overrated, and that's a common thing by this fan base.
Yeah, no, it is common, and I think it's both. I think, I don't think it's all on the coaching.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all on the talent. I think it's a combination of both, and the personnel was just in a really bad spot, especially after the Jermaine Johnson and Quincy Williams injury. The lack of depth that they have at both linebacker and edge was immediately put on display, and I think it only made things worse. And then, like, we all kind of knew safety going into the year was an issue, but then they signed Andre Sisco, not the big money, like a 1-year deal, right? But he was supposed to be like this stopgap kind of like okay starter. He hasn't been an okay starter. He's been really bad. And, Brandon Stevens, their big ticket item on defense, from a free agent addition perspective, he's had a rough go. Now, a little bit better the last 2 weeks, but overall sample size through 5 games, not good enough. So there's just issues all over this team, man. And when you're 0-5, that's what's going to happen, unfortunately.
It's terrible. And look, I kind of want to rephrase what I said there, because I don't think this fan base really overrated the talent going into the year. Like, nobody foresaw Michael Carter II playing like this. Nobody foresaw Jamie Sherwood playing like this. Matt, I had Joe Blewett on the show on Friday night, it was, and he told me, watching back the All-22, obviously doing his deep analysis, he views Sherwood as a linebacker 4/5 right now, which is just crazy to think. Someone who got paid $45 million this offseason. And it's not like the Jets could resort to anyone else at that position, especially with Quincy out. Francisco Maui-Noah had his opportunity in week 4 to earn his keep. Didn't do all that much. Who are you going to put in? Cam Jones, Marcelino McCrary Ball, Mark Robinson. There is nobody for this team to, put in and give you a spark over your $45 million man, most notably your defensive captain at that. So I feel for players like Quinnen Williams, who continue to do their job, have been here since 2019, where they won 7 games that year, but he survived Gase, he survived Saleh. He's now on to Glenn, his 3rd head coach throughout his New York Jets tenure. And there's going to be a conversation about potentially moving Quinnen Williams if this team does not want to pay him what he deserves, whether that's this offseason or he plays out the final year of his of his current deal, like his brother Quincy did this year.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get to that point, honestly. And I get it. I don't think you're wrong to bring up if they continue to lose games, there's going to be conversations about a lot of players at the deadline. But as you kind of listed off with Quinnen, one, it feels like he's one of the few guys who's living up to expectations on that defense. Like, he's been solid, and he's a top 5 player at his position on interior defensive line. So it would really stink to see him go. At the same time, I get why you have people who want to trade him because of getting as many assets as you can to get the team going in the right direction. It's a double-edged sword. I think you can make a strong case on either side for this one. But to me, it really stinks to see a guy who, was drafted here high, hit their expectations, signed a contract to stay, wanted to be here, wanted to be a part of the turnaround, and then, kicking him out. It doesn't sit well with me.
I think trading him at the deadline, Matt, would be one of the stupidest things I've seen this team do in a long time. Not only because you're trading one of your best players mid-year, what message does that send to the locker room, but also the fact, Matt, that you're not going to get nearly as much for him at the deadline as you would in the offseason. I would trade Quinnen if someone gave me a first, a role player, and a few late-round picks. I would trade Quinnen. Because also keeping in mind that you have to pay him that extension. And look, the Jets are projected to have the 7th seventh highest amount of cap space this coming off season. I think it's like $58 million or something around there after, of course, the remainder of that Rodgers contract is absorbed. But let's not be deceived by the fact that this team still has so many holes to fill. Like, I love Quinnen, Matt. He is one of my favorite players on this team. I feel for him. I feel the pain that he has to go out there every single Sunday. The Jets gave him a contract already. This team isn't in a position where they're going to be contending for a playoff spot, where they're going to be contending for a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 4 years, if you ask me, unless they, strike gold with a quarterback in this draft. I know that's not what fans want to hear in this conversation. We're going to have a ton in the offseason, Matt, but I think if you can get like a first and change, you have to entertain trading Quinnen Williams, because you pay him like a top 3, like a top 4 defensive tackle, you sacrifice yourself at a lot of other positions.
Yeah, and it's about cashing in on the value when it's at its highest. I just don't want to sell low on Quinnen.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that I think that it could happen because the team that's acquiring him is also going to have to be willing to redo his contract. He's going to want to, in my opinion, I think he's going to want to redo the contract at the end of this year. He has no guaranteed money left on the deal after this year. So I would imagine it would be I don't want to use the word contract dispute because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but just you would have to, one, not only acquire him, but then two, redo his deal. So I think it makes it a little bit more complicated and could impact the value. Like we saw when the Jets traded for Hassan Reddick, it wasn't a high draft pick that they gave up because Reddick had to redo his deal. They didn't, and he ended up holding out, and that was an absolute disaster. But point being, the initial reason why he was available, number one, and number two, why it didn't really cost as much as you might have thought for a guy who's a perennial 10 sack plus edge rusher, is because of that contract.
Certainly. And look, I'm not advocating here saying, oh, I want Quinnen Williams gone tomorrow, I want to trade him right now. But I will also add this and that. Who is to say that Quinnen Williams doesn't go to the Jets this offseason and say, I want a new contract right now, or I'm holding out. Trade me. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be a part of this losing. I'm in the prime of my career. I'm a top 5 defensive tackle in this league. I want to go chase a Super Bowl somewhere. Who is Quinnen not to tell them, either one of those routes, and elect to ultimately take that route. I want to gauge your thoughts, Matt, on Sauce Gardner and his start to the year, because great week 1 performance, been downhill ever since. I hear people saying, oh, $130 million, $124 million corner, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. He needs to be better. How would you assess him so far in entering today's matchup?
I think he has been a little underwhelming. I don't think he's been awful, right? Like I think there's some people who are like that he's been absolutely horrendous this year. I thought he struggled against Tampa Bay. That was probably his worst game. He was awesome in week 1, but it's just been very up and down and a little inconsistent. The penalties have been a problem. He has 4 penalties in 5 games, so that's obviously not good. And he's given up 2 touchdowns already this year, which is more than he's given up in an entire season. Including
the 66-yarder to I don't know if it was 66 yards. I'm thinking the Javonte Williams run. That huge play to George Pickens.
Yeah. I don't know if it was quite 6. It was a long touchdown. Whatever the number was, it was a long touchdown. That's 2. In each of his first 3 years, he's only given up 1 touchdown. So I think he's obviously still talented enough and young enough that he could still turn it around. He just turned 25 years old. But I think he just needs to be more consistent, right? Like we saw it in week 1. And then since then, it's kind of been up and down, and some really bad moments and some okay moments. But when you pay the guy and make him the highest paid corner in the league, you want to see the consistency. And I just don't think it's been there yet.
You want to see the consistency. And I'm going to, give some praise to someone who has been, widely criticized by this fan base, and I think rightfully so, to open the year. That's cornerback Brandon Stephens. He's really turned it on these past few weeks, and we haven't heard his name much, except when you're talking about when you talk about breaking up passes. So that's good to see. If you're a cornerback like Brandon Stephens, who's not a flashy, playmaker, who's not going to get you 4 or 5 interceptions a year, you really don't want to hear your name called. And he's been able to accomplish that these past few weeks. The one thing I didn't like was him doing like a celebration after he broke up a pass while the Jets were down 3 scores. That reminded me, Matt, I don't know if you remember this. I think 2020 it was, when Frankie Louvu like celebrated in the fourth, like inside the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter. The Jets were down like 38-3 or 40-0, something crazy like that. Like, okay, Brandon Stephens, You arguably cost this team week 1. How about just shut your mouth when you get a pass breakup when your team's down 3 scores there?
Look, I get it. Football is an emotional game, and like you make a big play, and you want to celebrate. I'm glad you pointed that out because that Frankie Louvu Selly, I did a TikTok on that back in the day. And it's like one of my most viewed TikToks.
Oh, wow.
400,000 views. But I was so mad because he makes a big tackle. He's clapping, but they're already in the red zone. So Seattle kicks a field goal to go up 40-3 right after that happens. I'm like, a time and a place, man. A time and a place, please.
I remember watching Red Zone a few years back, and like Greg Dortch scored his, first career touchdown or something like that. While the Cardinals were down like 4 scores with like 3 minutes to left, and he did like a whole organized celebration in the end zone. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting when you talk about players' egos and things like that. It's just this team can't afford those 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. And the NFL has really cracked down on it, which I think is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even celebrate anymore. Did you see the celebration that Will McDonald got fined? I don't know how much, but over $10,000, over $3,000, $4,000 for. He did like a bow and arrow celebration after sacking Aaron Rodgers and got fined for that. They got rid of the finger gun. So Allen Lazard got penalized for that and fined for that last year. They got rid of the nose wipe. Like, you can't even celebrate anymore in the league. It's ridiculous.
The no fun league.
Exactly. There we go. That's what everybody's calling it. The Denver Broncos, Matt, don't need celebrations. They don't need to, be flashy to have success and have a solid defense. How do you think this Jets offense is going to, what do you think the recipe is for this offense to beat a very, very solid Broncos defense?
I don't think they're going to be able to pass the ball very well in this game. So I think they need to get the run game going, which the frustrating part last week, they were doing that. Breece Hall was averaging over 8 yards a carry, and had over 100 rushing yards in the game. But you can't wipe out the fumble in the red zone. And in back-to-back weeks, they fumbled in the red zone. One, Braylon Allen on the one, and then the other one, Breece Hall pops off a big run to get them in the red zone, and then he fumbles on it. So that can't happen.
Yes.
And I think Fields has to get back running a little bit more. I don't know if it's the Jets shying away from it after the concussion or what necessarily, but I thought that was something that worked really well in week 1 that we haven't seen nearly as much of in the week since.
Most definitely. And he's like really hesitant to take off. And this is something that you could have picked up right away in week 1, Matt. That first, that last play in the fourth quarter against Pittsburgh, he had that first down in sight, and he decided to throw it to Garrett Wilson. Ball comes free, obviously, after a heavy hit by Jalen Ramsey. But I think this year Fields has just, leaned a lot more on his passing game and has seemingly been a little scared at times to, take his legs and pick up yardage himself. So that's something I've noticed really since the start of the year. And a stat I want to point out that I wrote up for Jets X Factor that he's going to need to flip the trend on if this team wants to get a win anytime soon. He's 0-26 when his defense has allowed more than 21 points throughout his 5-year career. Only quarterback with at least 10 starts to do that over a 5-year period. I hate to break it to you, Justin Fields, but I don't see a world where this defense at this rate allows any less than 20 points in a singular game this year. So you need to break that trend, and you need to break that trend quick for this team and this fan base to be on your side.
Yeah, and the tank crowd might be happy hearing that number because like you said, I don't know how many games the Jets are going to hold opponents under 21 points. So good luck, right? Like you gotta snap that streak eventually. Does it hit 30? Like, is that really gonna hit 30 games? I guess we'll find out in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's important to note about his 4-2 start last year. Like, he was playing behind a very, very good defense, and he played well. I'm not taking anything away from Justin Fields. He wasn't a liability. I think he threw like 1 interception over 6 games there, 5 touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns on the ground. So he certainly played well. It's just how much you wonder had to do with that defense and Mike Tomlin just playing, dink and dunk offense.
I'm with you on that. We have our first super chat. Want to thank Charleston Jets. Really good question here. How much of a difference will JJ and a new cornerback make this week for the Jets? What do you think on that, Connor? How much of a difference is JJ coming back plus some changes at corner?
It's interesting. JJ, I don't expect to go 100% of the snaps. Like, he missed multiple games with an ankle injury. They should have just placed him on IR, opened up another roster spot, signed Drake Jackson or another edge rusher like that, have him miss today's game. I think they just want to get him back because the pass rush has been so bad. They need like some reason for hope. They need someone to, like JJ, to play at least, 50 or so percent of the defensive snaps. I actually found this stat when writing an article on my defensive article yesterday for JetX. I'm going to try to get it here. So the Jets have had just 7 sacks this year, 4 of which came in week 1. Their only sack last week against Dallas was when Dak Prescott gave himself up, slid down in the backfield, and Braden McGregor tapped him down, and they didn't lay a single QB hit on Tua in week 3. So the pass rush has been like an all-time low, like some of the worst that we've ever seen from this organization. When you talk about the change at the cornerback position, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think we're going to see some AZ Thomas today. I think we can see him get some run in the slot. I think we could see Isaiah Oliver get some run in the slot. He had a great game in London last year, Isaiah Oliver. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys play in the slot today.
Yeah. Do you think Jarvis Brownlee gets some playing time this week?
I think he's going to start. I really think he's going to start for the second week in a row, obviously, in MC2's presence. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jarvis Brownlee's able to do. He was kind of like a net positive, I think you could say, last week. Like we didn't hear his name called, which is typically always a good thing for a cornerback of his nature. So I think he wants to build on that, and we'll see what he could do now. Second start with the Jets. He's certainly an intriguing guy because you got 2 more full years of team control on him, still on his rookie deal, of course, after this season comes to a conclusion. Would you be on for trading MC2 at the deadline? I've heard some people float this around.
I don't think you would be able to get much for him, honestly, at this point, with how he's played. But yes, I would be open to it because I don't know how well he fits with this new team, right? Like, I don't know. He was hurt last year and wasn't great. This year has had a really tough start and now is hurt again. If he's healthy, I would be open to it. He doesn't have any guaranteed money left on his deal, so you'd be saving a nice chunk of change for next season. I'm definitely open to it. And on JJ, like, I think it's a good thing that he's back. Like you mentioned, I don't know what percentage of snaps he's going to play this week.
Yeah.
But he's a significant upgrade over the 52nd and 53rd man on the roster, essentially, that they've been running out there, starting across from Will McDonald.
And when you talk about the defensive struggles on this team, Matt, I spoke with a few agents who some of their clients are defensive players on this Jets roster. And I was kind of, asking them, like, what is behind this unit's struggles? You go from being a top unit at this point a year ago to being one of the league's worst. And, all of them pretty much said to me, well, Connor, you look at the pieces on this team, the core pieces, Sherwood, MC2, and guys like that. These are guys who earned their keep under Robert Saleh, guys who earned their keep under Jeff Ulbrich in a scheme that was highly reliant on zone coverage. And then Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn come in. Sure, they bring, some of their own pieces to town, but they're like, we're going to completely go away from that. We're going to play press. We're going to play man. And I think that's a very valid point to kind of justify some of the concerns this year. I think it would have been a lot more beneficial for them to bring in more players from their coaching tree. I mean, you see Robert Saleh bringing in Bryce Huff, and he's balling out under him. Like, why couldn't you have signed Marcus Davenport? Why couldn't you have signed Levi Onwuzurike? Why couldn't you have added Carlton Davis instead of Brandon Stevens? And they pretty much got the same amount of money as well. So I think that's an area where, Darren Muji was a little lacking. And when you talk about Muji, it's so hard to evaluate what's Muji and what's Glenn, because Woody Johnson referred to Darren Muji as Aaron Glenn's sidekick during their introductory press conference, which was a really, really interesting comment. And then you hear Aaron Glenn talking to reporters over the summer. He says, I am not trading Breece Hall. So you wonder how much of a role do Muji and Glenn play in these decisions. I think Muji's the one making the calls, calling up these teams, facilitating the deal. But I think ultimately Glenn gets that final sign off.
I agree with you. I think you're spot on there. I think Glenn does get the final sign off. And he has a lot of control on this roster for a rookie head coach, which is kind of rare to see. We have the inactives list that I'm going to pull up in a minute here, but Want to mention that we're sponsored by Sleeper. Think you know football? Then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players. With more stats than any other daily fantasy app, just choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks win. Use my promo code O'Leary, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. They're also rocking with a new offer, free $20 no deposit required promo under the same code O'Leary. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, I'm going to share it. I'm going to pull it up right now. I don't think you're going to be happy with one of.
Yep, I already saw it, and okay. I predicted it.
Yeah, so here we go. A wide receiver, Alan Lazard, is inactive. That is not a surprise. Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, Esa Pohl, Jelani Woods, Tyler Barron, and Leonard Taylor.
I mean, I expected Barron, just given the fact that JJ is coming back. LT3. I mean, I'm surprised nobody has asked AG about that in the press room. Hey, you can't create pressure on the inside. Why the hell is Leonard Taylor III not playing? Your second best pure pass rusher, in my opinion, and a guy who can create havoc for you, is young, has upside. So I will never understand the move to play guys like J2 Fele over Leonard Taylor III, especially at this point in their career. Tyler Barron, again, makes sense with JJ out.
Yep.
Khalil Herbert not going is interesting. I just think he's a better pure running back if you need to get there than Avery Williams is. So I disagree with that a little bit. But yeah, nothing significant. Obviously, MC2 and Alan Lazard both didn't make the trip to London, so that was expected.
Can I give you something that maybe we could be excited about?
Let's hear
excited to. That might be a stretch using that word, but they elevated Brandon Smith, and it looks like he's going to make his Jets debut this week.
I did see that. They elevated Smith alongside Isaiah Williams. So obviously that one is interesting that we spoke about before the show. Does not make much sense at all for not only a coach who's preached accountability all offseason long, but literally said after week 1, if you are going to cause us to lose games, you will not play here. He cost you to lose a game. Xavier Gipson did the same thing in week 1. You cut ties with Gipson right away. How bad is Jamal Pritchett? What has Jamal Pritchett done to this organization?
That's a great question. I
wish getting kicked down the line. It's terrible.
I wish I had an answer for you because I don't think it could possibly be worse than what Williams showed a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it really, really can't. I think it'd be a lot better. The guy has NFL explosiveness. We saw that in the preseason, excuse me. He forced listen to this. He forced 8 missed tackles as just a receiver in the preseason. That was double the second player on that list, who was Efton Chisholm of the New England Patriots, a drafted player this year with 4. He has NFL explosiveness. He's an NFL player. Yet you keep putting guys like Isaiah Williams out there, who, by the way, the second I saw him return a kick, I think week 2 was his first game, I knew he didn't have it. The vision, the speed isn't there. It doesn't make sense. It's always this little thing, this little nagging issue. Last year was kicking. Now the Jets are drilling 58-yard field goals with, 10 more yards of leg on them. And now it's returning kicks. Just figure it out. It's supposed to be just get someone there who could catch the ball, please.
Also, too, can if the ball's kicked into the end zone, can they just take a knee?
Thank you.
Right,
that was the most I cheered last game when Isaiah Davis took a knee in the end zone for the first time.
Right, you get the ball at the 35 now on the touchback. Yeah, I mean, come on. You're not gonna, if you're taking the ball 5 yards deep in the end zone, the chances of them getting past at 35 are so slim. Just take a knee, or you might fumble. They've already fumbled 2 kickoffs, man. Anything in the end zone, just take a knee at this point. You get it at the 35-yard. You need 20 yards to be in field goal range. Why are they doing it? It's so stupid. It
annoys me just as much, Matt, as when Isaiah Davis had to lean over the sideline to catch that kick return to open the second half that he ultimately fumbled instead of just taking it out.
Isaiah Williams.
I said Davis?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I don't want to throw Isaiah Davis under the bus.
No,
that was
never,
Isaiah Williams.
Never. I'm a big Isaiah Davis fan, and look, he is someone who I think I really like Davis because he's like a mix of Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. He doesn't have that 235, that 240-pound frame that Braylon Allen might possess. He has that speed. He's also able to get yards after contact, which I think is super, super, super important for a player like him. So I'm a big Isaiah Davis fan.
Nose Kills is in with the super chat, says, is a less organized rookie quarterback backyard football offense that the Broncos run a worse matchup for Jets compared to Steelers pocket passing? We did okay. They did good. They did okay against the run. They really struggled. Rodgers pretty much dink and dunked his way down the field at will against them, and he threw 4 touchdowns. But they did get more pressure and sacks on him. I don't like this matchup at all for the Jets. I do think it's a tougher matchup, although, it's similar because Bo Nix isn't a guy who's really going to push the ball down the field. He has a very low average depth of target, and he has I think it's 36% completion percentage on balls over 20 yards down the field. Like he misses a lot of guys deep. So I think their offense is going to be a little bit more underneath, but the Jets have struggled with that, right? Like how many times did Miami run crossers underneath and a guy was just running wide open?
Oh yeah, I don't think this defense is going to be able to contain Bo Nix and his offense to the caliber of which I think fans will want to see. It's a very explosive offense. They have a run game. They have RJ Harvey. They have guys they could beat you with on the ground, on top of the air, and obviously you have Courtland Sutton, but besides that, there are no awe-inspiring weapons on this team. They're just a good football team.
Yeah, they're good.
That's well coached, that has a quarterback who can play within the system. Like the Jets haven't been able to do that for 15 years. Come on.
Yeah, no, and I don't think what you said is wrong, nor do I think it should be looked at as a knock against Denver. Like they're just a good team that plays within their system. They run the ball well. They have an awesome defense, and their quarterback does a good job managing games for them, right? They're a successful team. They have a winning record right now. They're 3-2. I think they'll get to 4-2 today. And they were a playoff team from a year ago, and they're well coached. I think it's just bad matchup all around for the Jets today.
The Jets could have beat them last year in a game that you were at. That was the beginning of the end for the season.
Yeah, that version of Bo Nix in week 4 last year is very different than the Bo Nix that we're getting now.
And he didn't even have a passing touchdown entering that game. I remember doing that pregame show. He didn't have a passing touchdown entering that game. Did he get one? No, he got one in the fourth quarter to Sutton, I believe it was.
To seal the deal, man. That was just a gross game all around.
That was a dogfight too. It was hard to watch.
It was 6-3 Jets for a majority of that game, and then it ended up being 10-9 final.
10-9.
Come on.
God. And the Jets, of course, could never be on the losing end of one of those. And someone who just looks at the scores, Matt, of the Jet games this year and doesn't watch the games will be like, oh, Jets suck per normal, but at least they're competitive. They're staying in the games. I call them the garbage time Jets. They have done nothing in meaningful moments, and it's all right.
Careful.
We're down 3 scores with 12 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Let's go stat pad and make it look like it was a close game.
Yeah, he's you're gonna be careful. You're gonna piss off the Fields Hive. I've been going back and forth with them in my YouTube comments and on socials. It's it's unfortunate because yes, he's a talented player, and there are moments late in games well, what do you want him to do? Roll over and die in the fourth quarter? No, I'm glad that they're fighting and getting back in the game. But can we see a first half touchdown? We haven't seen a first half touchdown since week 1.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm a big Fields fan. I think a lot of people forget that I'm rooting for Fields. I had high expectations for Fields this year. I don't think he's the problem. I really don't think he is. Could he be better? Absolutely. Should he be able to win at least one game? Well, his defense allows a little over 21 points. Absolutely. But is he the reason the Jets are 0-5? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So here we go. Took the lead in the Bucs game is not garbage time, but okay. The Fields didn't even play in that game.
I was just about to say that. A man named Tyrod Taylor was quarterbacking in that game, and it took a miracle, Tyler, for that to happen with Will McDonald blocking a field goal after the Bucs went from blitzing about 45% of the time to playing full prevent defense and playing everything in front of them.
No, and they were still down multiple scores in the fourth quarter. Now, again, they made it close, but they were about to go down 9 if that field goal comes in. That was a massive swing from going up 1 to more likely on a short field goal. They would have went up 9, and that would have essentially ended the game.
Yeah, and honestly, Matt, I'm intrigued to hear what you think. I've watched the replay about like 5 times since the play actually happened. I don't think that was an Allen Lazard touchdown. That ball moved. Like
Oh, yeah.
if that was called an incompletion on the field, it would not have changed.
I thought it was coming back, honestly.
Same. That because it was the Jets too, and that game sucks that they couldn't get a win in that game because they got so many. That was the one game where luck was on the Jets' side between the blocked field goal, that Allen Lazard
Touchdown staying.
yeah, touchdown stands. The fact that Tampa Bay got called for so many penalties that game, some of which I believe were a little egregious and unnecessary. So that was the one game where luck, was really on the Jets' side. And of course, when that's the case, they ultimately can't deliver.
No, it's been a tough go for the 2025 Jets.
Absolutely. Oh, and like who even foresaw this? Like the pessimists of the pessimists, I think even expected the Jets to beat Miami. Nobody saw 0-5, and it's the way they've lost too. Being in pretty much, not being in these games, but just getting outmatched right from the jump and getting killed off the opening kick and not being ready to play. Like, I don't know if I said this on the show last week, but I certainly said it throughout the week on my show, Matt. Like, if we see Glenn coach like this for 12 more games, these moves that Muji made continue to not be great, and Jets just get dominated right off the opening kick for 12 more games. Like, there's going to have to be a conversation. What is the future like? And I'm not saying fire Glenn right now. I'm not one of those calling for Glenn's job already. But what I'm saying, you see this for 12 more games, there has to be a conversation at the end of the year. Cliff Kingsbury becomes available. Why can't Aaron Glenn be 2018 Steve Wilkes? Why can't Aaron Glenn be Frank Reich with the Carolina Panthers? Why can't Aaron Glenn be Gerard Mayo with the New England Patriots last year? Was a beloved figure in that organization and ultimately just didn't work out after 1 year. And Mike Vrabel becomes available and they beat the Bills on Sunday Night Football, the first team to beat the Bills since 2023. So what I'm saying is, it continues to look like this. There has to be a conversation at least.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. There's still 12 more games.
Yes.
Like, I think we need to look at the full season. I don't think we can say one way or the other right now on Aaron Glenn, only 5 games in. So let's take the rest of the season to evaluate it. Unfortunately, I don't think this is the week where they get their first win, but we'll see. Hopefully the tides start to change sooner rather than later. Because I don't want to watch this team go win this. I don't want to see an 0-17 team, even if you get the first pick, the whole thing, but still, nobody wants to see that, man.
And then we're literally going to spend time from December, Matt, through April, screaming and yelling at each other about which quarterback to take, who will probably suck and be out of the league in 5 years anyways.
It's the fun of being a Jets fan. I like this comment from Charleston Jets Rube. I wanted to pull back up here. It says, let's open up throwing like it's a 2-minute drill. The last 2 games we started great running, but then fumbles. Let's mix it up. What's your take on the Jets going more pass heavy early in games?
I mean, I like it. I want to see shots made downfield. I don't want to see, dink and dunk, and then you get to 3rd and 8, and that's when you turn it on. And they've been converting on 3rd down. They've been at least a league average team this year on 3rd down, which is something new for the Jets organization. I want to see them rely on the pass more. I agree with this. I just want to see shots downfield. You're 0-5, take a shot on the first play of the game. What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't mind that logic with taking a shot. I do think, though, like, this isn't a game where I think the Jets should be throwing the ball 35 times. If you want to come out early on that first drive and show pass to make them respect the pass, and then you start running the ball, like, if we're going to play the game of how did the Jets win this game today, it's not that they're going to come out firing. Fields is going to throw for 300 yards and throw for 3 touchdowns and they win a shootout. I think the defense has to step up. They would have to create at least 1 turnover, and they'd have to win the time of possession game, which would be long, sustained drives. Yeah. I would imagine a lot of running the football.
And I just don't see a world, where this team pulls it off. And you mentioned not throwing the ball, 45 times, 35 times. How often did Fields throw the ball last week, man? I think it was 45.
Yeah, which is way too much for a Justin Fields-led offense.
Way too much. When we were talking about him this offseason, I honestly thought the average Fields passing attempts per game, I thought it was going to be something like 20, 25. I thought we'd never see it creep up near 30. That's been the case, however. So I'm not blaming Tanner Engstrand for any of that. However, I think Engstrand has been like the only coach with a pulse on this staff. So I'm not blaming Engstrand, but I would like to see them rely more on the pass for sure.
V-Man chimes in with the super chat, says we're going to need Pitoro, which is moonshine rum, to get through this season. God, this defense needs tons of overhauling this offseason. It does need a ton of overhauling this offseason, man. What are some changes you would make, Connor, to this Jets defense?
I think you just need to bring in more pieces who have familiarity in this defensive scheme. I think that's the bottom line, and you got to bring in guys who fit your vision. And often we see with these, first-time head coaches, it does take some time to implement that and to implement the vision and the future there. So I do understand it, but I think it's do or die for Aaron Glenn. It's sooner rather than later. So I think you need to just bring in guys who play press, who play man, who are able to thrive there. I like the trades that they made. Like Harrison Phillips and Jawan Briggs have been playing very, very well. Add a few edge rushers. Like I don't think this defense is like a century away from being good. They just need a few more pieces.
Yeah, they do, and I think they just need some more Aaron Glenn guys, right?
Yeah.
Like there haven't been a ton of that, but I would imagine that we'll eventually see some players that Aaron Glenn has had in the past that he wants to help implement his brand of football and his style of defense. I think, whether that's on the defensive line, maybe at linebacker, if they decide to move on from Quinnen Williams, safety, maybe, but I think there'll be some changes for sure.
There are going to be changes. I just think there are a few starters away. Like, I don't think you need to fully overhaul the entire unit. I just think you're a few starters away. I think that's what it looks like. And look, I think I understand fans who are pessimistic about the defense, but the core pieces are here. How are the, guys who were core pieces a week ago going to bounce back? Like, I don't have confidence in Jamie Sherwood, Matt. What has he shown me this year to be confident? Like, MC2 completely fell off a cliff last year. I gave him benefit of the doubt, said he was injured, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, let's see what he can do this year. And he's been even worse. He's been even worse through 5 weeks than he was last year. So you question the roles that these guys are going to play in the future and what their future looks like in New York.
Yeah, the guys that they do have and that they paid, they need to play better too, right? Like some of it's on the players too. Like we said earlier in the show, yes, they need work on this roster. And yeah, there's definitely concerns about the coaching staff right now. But also at the same time, like the guys that you paid and wanted to be your core group have to be better.
Yeah, definitely. And like just paid Sherwood this offseason. You can't put that on Saleh. You can't put that on Joe Douglas. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn gave Jamie and Sherwood $45 million. Now, look, if I could do it back, I would have still given him that contract. I'm not going to use hindsight and say, Jets shouldn't have paid him, blah, blah, blah. That was, I think, a very smart move at the time. And could you imagine the rioting from this fan base if they let Sherwood walk after he had, I think, the third most solo tackles among linebackers in the league last year? So they needed to pay him. Obviously, however, it hasn't, paid off, I think, the way that the Jets and the fan base, of course, expected it to.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right with that. Brandon has a nice comment that I want to pull up. Jarvis Brownlee needs to start in the slot. Hopefully defense looks better, I'm assuming he says, with Jermaine Johnson.
Yep.
Those are two changes that they're making right now to the defense. And, unfortunately, Michael Carter hasn't looked good this year. He's out. He will not play in this game. So I think there's a chance we see Brownlee in the slot. That's where I would play him. I don't think Malachi Moore looked good in the slot last week.
No.
And Jermaine coming back is a big deal, right? Like, I don't know what he's going to look like in this first game back coming off the injury, but like Michael Clemens was getting 70% of snaps. They were rushing guys like Tyler Barron and Braden McGregor on the edge opposite of Will McDonald. I just think it helps the defense overall because it's another, legitimate guy on that defensive line you have to respect.
Definitely. And look, like I mentioned earlier on, even if he's not playing 100% of the defensive snaps, again, he's a presence up there who gives you a much needed boost in a unit that has struggled mightily. And again, that's a talent issue. That's not on Wilkes. That's the fact that the Jets have 3 non-NFL players as their 3 primary backups. That's a significant issue.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is a big issue. It really is.
Jarvis Brownlee, Matt, how would you assess him last week. I know I said I think he was kind of a net positive. We didn't really hear his name much. You see anything out of him that is of note?
I want to pull up the snap counts because I
Yeah.
don't really remember. He only played 7 snaps, so I think it's really
Okay.
too small of a
I thought he
sample.
played a lot more, to be honest. Yes.
No, it was really more Michael Carter who was
Mm.
playing in the slot. He's listed as a safety, obviously here on the. I'm looking at Football Guys. They do a good job of
Yep.
tracking the snap count week by week. Malachi Moore was at 38% last week. A lot of that in the slot. Isaiah Oliver, 47%. He was also getting work in the slot, but Brownlee only 7 snaps, 12%. I guess a positive is he didn't hear his name called, which for a corner is usually a
Yep.
good thing. I think we just need to see more.
Definitely. And again, we're going to see a lot of him today because he is in a starting role. What do you expect out of Fields today? I know we kind of talked about the game plan. You had to kind of put a prediction on those stats. What would you expect?
I think they probably throw the ball maybe around 25 times today. I don't think we're going to see a ton from him. I don't know, like 17 to 25, 150 to 170 passing yards. I think he'll run for maybe another 40 to 45. I know, like we talked about the Jets offense, and they put up points towards the end of the games and made it look a little bit closer than what it's been. I don't think this is the week for it. I think they're, the Broncos defense, they've done a good job of, holding opponents under 20 points. I think that happens again today. I'll save that for my bold prediction, actually, but I do have a bold prediction, not Fields related, but offense related.
What is that bold prediction, Matt O'Leary?
Okay. Well, it's bold prediction time. First career touchdown for Mason Taylor today.
There we go. I like that. He's played very well these past few weeks. I don't think people have spoken about that because the Jets haven't been winning, but like not only has he been racking up receptions, getting yardage, but he's also been getting open. And I think that's super important for someone you drafted in the second round who is not known for his blocking ability, but rather for being, that route running technician who will get open and who will make plays for you down the field. My hot take of the day, what did I say last week, Matt? I think I said like an Avery Williams return touchdown.
I think so, yeah.
All right, I'll try to do something more realistic today. Okay, this is interesting because you can go in a lot of different directions with this team. You could talk about takeaways. You could, because that would be, a hot take, just given the fact that the Jets haven't forced a takeaway. I'll go with this. I'll say Harrison Phillips forces a fumble. I'll go with that. Give me Harrison Phillips forced fumble. That is my stat prediction.
Do they recover the fumble?
To make it even more hot, yes.
Wow, first turnover of the season.
I don't even, Matt, I have to just say, it's law of averages at this point. Like, if you pick them to get a turnover every game, you're going to be right eventually. Yeah. It's going to have to come at some point. So, why don't I say that's also my thought process, like, for anyone who is a better out there, like Breece Hall, I think anytime touchdown. I don't know exactly what the line is, but like that I think is a very intriguing line for today's game. He has to score a touchdown this year. It's bound to happen at some point.
Yep. We got another super chat. Soy Sauce Gardner says, what are the odds that we don't take a quarterback first overall? If the Jets get the first overall pick, I would be floored if they didn't take a quarterback. I think.
Yeah, who are they gonna take? Caleb Downs?
Caleb Downs, first overall pick, baby. Let's go.
Caden Proctor. They'll put him at fullback. Or they'll, have Caden Proctor be, replace Armand Mempo and then have him be your wildcat player. They're going to take a quarterback, Matt. Guaranteed, no matter what. I think there's a world where they could take a quarterback and Fields can stick around still. I think that's important to note. I think there's a world where that happens if the Jets don't want to opt out of the deal. It's a quarterback or trade back, as Anthony G mentions in the chat.
Did you get a chance to watch any of the quarterbacks play yesterday?
I did. And I'm going to watch them back on all 22. I don't really watch that closely. I just like enjoying the games. I don't really focus on them because then I get the all 22 and I look at the all 22 after most of the games. Dante Moore, kid could ball. I didn't do much film work on him. And I kind of gave him like, all right, he beat Penn State. Do it again. You don't really just walk into, a team. Well, I mean, when you talk about him and Mendoza, those are two guys. That duel was very, very, very exciting to watch. And, you're Fernando Mendoza. You don't just walk into Oregon and come away with a win. Like, he's a very, very, very good player. You talk about his pocket passing ability, him being able to use his legs. Mendoza more. And did you get a chance at all to see Jaden Mayava, my guy from USC last night?
No, I was at that point later in the night. I switched over and was watching the Islander game.
Yeah.
But
So I saw the highlights. I didn't watch the full game, but just looking at the stats, they beat Michigan 31-13. He went 25 of 32, 265 yards,
nice.
2 touchdowns and a pick. He started 8 of 9 for 79 yards. So he's a guy that I really, really, really like and someone to watch. Another takeaway from the weekend, Drew Aller. You feel for him?
That sucks.
Terrible. He's not going to be a first-round pick anymore. Like,
No.
no team takes a guy like that in the first round. That just doesn't happen.
And he's done for the year too.
Yeah.
So like maybe a day 3 pick. I think, it's unfortunate, and this is hindsight, but if he came out last year, I think he would have went significantly higher than where he's going to go this year.
Yeah, I see Tyler saying Carson Beck isn't getting enough love. That's an interesting comment. I like Carson Beck. I was high on Carson Beck during summer scouting. I got a lot of hate for it. He reminds me of Will Howard. I think he's like an NFL ready day 3 guy. Thing is, I just don't think the ceiling is high with Beck, especially given his age, the injury history. Like, you draft Beck, I think he's a day 2, day 3 type guy, and then he's a high end backup. He's like, I think a good career for him would be like a Tyrod Taylor career. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, and a quarterback selected on day 2, day 3 of the draft, I'm sure they would kill to have a career that Tyrod Taylor's had. But I just don't think you're getting like a legit long-term starter in Beck.
No, I don't think so either. Yesterday, I thought Mendoza looked the best off the eye test. I'm good with Mendoza. I also like Moore, who had a long touchdown in that game. But I thought looked better against Penn State, and going on the road and winning that game in the whiteout against Penn State, like that's pretty impressive, honestly. Mateer coming back from injury didn't look great against Texas. We'll see kind of how he finishes his season. And Ty Simpson, I thought, had a good game for Alabama also.
Love this tweet from a Buffalo Jet fan that I would be remiss if I didn't mention here on the show. Pretty underwhelming day for the QB class. Seems like Mendoza offers a relatively high floor. Moore looks like Walmart Jaden Daniels. Mateer will keep the Steelers at 9 wins for 10 more years. Ty Simpson is your local state troopers QB1.
Yeah, I don't have Ty. To be fair, I don't have Ty Simpson as QB1, but I thought he played well.
Yeah, and I think people have to lay off on John Mateer as well. 3 picks, not great. Get it, completely understand that. However, the guy's still injured. He is not fully healthy.
He probably
under any measure. Like, he shouldn't have been playing, but it was a huge game for them against Texas. So he needed to go in there and he needed to play, because a hurt John Mateer gives Oklahoma the best chance to win over insert whoever their backup quarterback is. So we need to go out there. I mean, there are some names who are slowly coming onto my radar, like Ty Simpson. A guy like Taylon Green from Arkansas is someone I've heard mentioned a lot. I haven't dove into him yet. I think Sellers has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, among these quarterbacks. It's just, you hit on him, you have your Cam Newton, you have your Lamar Jackson. You miss on him, you have Anthony Richardson, you have Justin Fields.
There's a lot to like with Sellers. I just think he's a very high variance player.
Yeah.
Like, I
He's
see
like
a world.
Milroe. He's like Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, and like there's a world I could see it working at the next level, but it scares the life out of me because of the difference between the floor and the ceiling. Where someone like Mendoza, I forget who said it earlier, but someone in our chat, or no, it was the Buffalo Jet fan tweet. I'm sorry, said that he offers a high floor. At this point, man, I am more confident in floors than ceilings.
Certainly. And like, you look at Sellers' line the other day after he had like 500, 400 total yards 2 weeks ago, 15-27, 124 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. Like, that's just the inconsistency that you get out of him game in and game out. That's what's going to happen. And you have to know that discrepancy, of course, when you watch a player like him and the risky play style that he does offer as a dual threat type guy. 22 rushing attempts yesterday for 19 yards. Like, there's just a risky brand of football. And I'll mention this. I haven't mentioned it. I was very low on Jackson Dart throughout the pre-draft process. I had a day 3 grade on him. I had him as my QB 5 or 6. I think I finished out with him as. I have no problem taking an L on that take after what we've seen from. He's been very, very, very good. And look, that's not to say something can happen, but I'm happy for Jackson Dart. Like, I always say this about my Jet predictions as well. I'd rather be wrong and be happy than be right and be disappointed. Unfortunately, lately, I've been more right and disappointed than wrong and happy.
We have a couple calls to get to. We'll do that in a second. Just wanted to point out this super chat from our guy Sim said, all right, put my mortgage on Taylor for a touchdown. No pressure. Now I'm nervous. Look, I'm pretty confident that he can get into the end zone today, but love that you're backing me with some confidence, Sim.
Love to hear it.
Awesome.
Thank you for the super chat, Sim.
All right, let's go out. First call, V-Man. What's going on, V-Man? How's it going?
Good. I just got off of work, man. I'm just in Grand Central. Surprisingly, since it's the last day of Comic-Con, I've only seen 2 cosplayers.
Okay. That is a little surprising. I guess it's still early.
Yeah, I guess so. Even though I work at the Javits Center, even I work about 5 feet away from the Javits Center, it was not busy at all. But man, you know what? This has been an utterly frustrating season. I'm just hoping I could get at least one watchable football game where we get a happy ending this season. Right now, it's like that's the way it looks. I don't see. I mean, you can't even beat any of it. And this is the soft part. Is this because those are the soft teams, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. Those are the soft teams that you could have had a chance in. And they still haven't put up any bite on any fight whatsoever. It's been frustrating. It's like I don't know what. Maybe you get the hope that the travel is gonna knock the Broncos off a little bit. That's what you're hoping here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating. New York sports. What a bizarro world we live in with New York sports, where the most competent, well-run team is the Knicks. This is a bizarro world we live in.
You're not wrong.
I think 5 or 6 years ago, if I had said that, you would have thought I was crazy. But this is the world. It's just frustrating. Can we just get the Jets back, to being the borderline competency they were in the 2000s?
Yeah, not only that, but also keep in mind with the Knicks resurgence, I'll add this. They hired the right people. They got Leon Rose, who really changed that organization. Fun fact about Leon Rose. You guys know Leon Rose has never held a press conference before. He's like the GM / team president, whatever the title is. He's never addressed reporters, and he's been with the Knicks for 6 years, I think. So that's something, it's an interesting tactic that he's taken.
Yeah, no. And it's it is, I say it is just so frustrating for me because for how long this fan base has waited for just competency. I mean, you think about it. The last time the Jets were in the playoffs, Blockbuster was still open.
You're not wrong.
Embarrassing.
Do you have a prediction for today in this game?
No, I can't think of any prediction, honestly. It's just because I can't make any process. I have no faith in this defense to do anything but just bend and bend and bend. And your best hope for them is maybe they can force a field goal. That's literally.
Yeah.
It's literally, what am I going to say here? They're going to give up what? They're going to give up over 20 points. We know that. Barring the Broncos completely imploding.
Exactly. You can't even you can't even root for a turnover anymore. I don't even root for a turnover.
When's the last time we see this? When's the last time we actually saw a turnover? I can't remember the last time.
Jacksonville game last year, maybe?
The game sealing pick from Sauce, yes.
Probably.
Wow.
Too long.
Or no, I think they forced I think Ashton Davis recovered a fumble in week 18 or something like that, or had an interception against the Dolphins last year. But nothing significant since early on in the season. Early.
All right.
Thanks, V-Man, for the call. Enjoy the game. All right, good stuff from our guy, V-Man there. Get home safe, V-Man. Let's go to Brick City Jets up next. What's going on?
Hey, man. Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Doing well.
What's up?
As you see, I'm tearing up because this franchise makes me cry for the last 30 years. I'm sick of it.
I love it.
All I'm hoping for today is just some type of competency. Not turn the ball over. Justin Fields play decent. Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor get some targets. Breece Hall do not fumble the freaking ball. I keep saying Michael Carter. He's injured. Sorry, Michael Clemens. Please don't do a bonehead play. Can we get a good referee staff that's not going to throw flags our way every little ticky tacky moment? This season, guys. I mean, man, I watch this show all the time, and I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
You guys keep me going. But this franchise, man, it's like an abusive marriage. It's like I feel like I'm in Stockholm syndrome. Every year I expect something different, and it's the same results all the freaking time. I mean, AG, I love him. He was one of my favorite players growing up, besides Curtis Martin and Wayne Corbett. And when he was hired as a coach, I'm like, oh, finally a coach that wants to be here. Finally a coach that knows this organization. And still, it's like we're 0-5. We're in London. I think we're 1-2 in London. I believe. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. We're 1-2.
I'm pretty sure. You're right.
Can we just win?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, it was Jacksonville in 2015.
It's Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Yeah. So I'm just hoping for a win. Something just to this northeastern storm is coming to Jersey. Yep. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I'm like 15 minutes away from the stadium. I'm like 15 minutes away from the practice facility off of 280. I just want to win, guys. I just want to win. I just want this franchise to finally win, because we be getting kicked down by the media. Some of our fans, is tired of it. I'm the only Jet fan in my family. Go lucky there. But I love this. I love this franchise way too much to give up on them, even though I curse the TV out every Sunday.
Yeah.
Every week.
But I'm listen, the last time the Jets was in the playoffs, I was in my early 20s. Bro, I'll be 40 in August next season. We got to do something. God bless you guys. Take care, Matt. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing, young man. I forgot your name. Sorry. I watch your videos too, and you're doing your thing. I like your videos as well, man. Keep doing your thing. Go Jets. Let's get this win in. Let's get this win in, guys.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Brick City. That was awesome, man. Love that. He's on the money, though, right? It does feel like Stockholm syndrome.
Not only that,
she'll change one of these years.
Yeah, nice. Hopefully. You have to hope. I mean, there's a chance where I get to like 18 years old. I'm 14 now. I get to 18 and the Jets don't have a win, a playoff appearance.
I mean, this is going to make me feel pretty old, but I was basically your age the last time the Jets made the playoffs. I was 15. Yeah. I was in 10th grade. I didn't have my learner's permit yet. Didn't have a driver's license. Graduated high school, college, got engaged, going to be married next month, bought a house. There's been a lot of life changes since the last time the Jets made the playoffs.
Oh, it's crazy, Matt. Think of it this way. Like a whole generation has grown up without seeing the Jets appear in a playoff game. Like my whole generation. And hence why kids in my school who couldn't tell you what a snap is about football or anything about football clown me every single day, Monday, whatever it is, Tuesday or Friday, whenever I get to school, regarding the Jets, because they know nothing about football, but all they know is that the Jets are the jokes of the league.
Yep.
That's what it's gotten to.
It sucks. It really does. All right, let's go out to our guy Alan up next. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, guys. First of all, Matt, let the fire sale begin on the island in the next couple of weeks. It's time to trade everybody. God bless.
Yes, Matthew Schaefer is awesome. That's all.
He is. I actually am running on adrenaline because I was at the Florida A&M game last night.
Oh, nice.
So I got home about 1:30 in the morning, so I'm a little out of it. As far as today is concerned, I know I come in pessimistic. I just don't see any matchup today being good for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see Wilson getting free from Surtain. Nope. I don't know how they're running the ball today. I think Bo Nix has a field day. Again, you want to look at matchups, and I just don't see as there being any. I really don't.
No. And how could you?
What?
I said, and how could you? Like, there's no matchup that's favorable. Surtain against Garrett, who has a reputation for shutting down Garrett throughout his career. This Broncos defense against Justin Fields, who holds onto the ball for over 3 seconds on an average. Like, there is little reason to be optimistic entering today.
I did chuckle watching Aaron Glenn's plaque yesterday in College Station, as he is a former A&M guy, so it was pretty funny to watch that. As far as James Franklin is concerned at Penn State, the buyout is $58 million. So
wow.
unless somebody's willing to pay it, I mean, someone might. I mean, at A&M, they paid out a $75 million payout for Jimbo Fisher a couple of years ago. So, yeah, it's time for him to go. But as far as the Jets today, I think they lose 3 touchdowns plus. I just don't see it being close. I'm trying to be honest. It's a really, really bad matchup.
No, it is. We've been saying that too since we've come on, this whole, hour plus now. Looking at the schedule before the season, didn't like the matchup. And now when you get into 5 games of context added to it, the Jets can't stop anybody on defense. Bo Nix is just going to find guys open over the middle of the field. And good luck for Garrett trying to get open against Pat Surtain. And there is nobody else in this wide receiver room that is going to be able to do anything today.
And one final comment. I know that Peyton has relations with both Glenn and Muji, but his disdain for the Jet organization might run high. He might throw the ball up 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. You never know. So, again, I would lay the 7.5 or what is it, 7. I'm shocked it's not double digits. I'm actually really surprised it's not double digits. But again, I think Denver wins by 3.
Well, the Jets are technically the home team, so they're going to get 3 points.
Whatever.
Neutral
Yeah. Connor, I would bet your college fund on the Broncos today. Trust me.
It double.
Yeah. Well, have a great rest of your day, guys.
Thank you,
Alan.
Good stuff from our guy, Alan, there. All right, we're approaching an hour, 15 minutes on the show. Kickoff less than an hour away. We're going to start wrapping up here. Let's do score predictions. We gave our bold predictions earlier. If you missed it, we were tracking them now. Remember, I have my note. So let's see if any of ours hits because I don't remember. Mine was an Isaiah Davis touchdown. That did not hit. You predicted a kick return for Avery Williams. And also, he
didn't even return kicks, by the way. It was Khalil Herbert.
Look at this. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but last week you also predicted a Harrison Phillips forced fumble and recovery.
I didn't even know that. Okay,
yeah. So that's Harrison Phillips on the brain.
I'll say Jawan Briggs has a sack. I'll add that in for this week.
Okay. I'm going to say Briggs sack for Connor. And for me, I'm going to go Mason Taylor touchdown.
I remember picking Phillips last week. Interesting.
That's funny. I didn't remember that either. I don't. After we're done with this, I won't remember in 5 minutes. So that's why I'm going to start writing these down. Okay. Score prediction. I think we're looking like 30-16, something like that today.
Yeah, I think I put 33-19. I think I had it. So we're in the same ballpark. Yeah, I think this is a 2 touchdown point differential, at least today for New York.
Yeah, unfortunately, as you said the whole episode, don't like the matchup, but prove us wrong, right? I think we'd both be pretty happy if the Jets prove this wrong today.
Again, I'd rather be right. I'd rather be wrong and happy than right and disappointed, Matt.
Correct. I'm with you. I'm a Jets fan first. That'll always be the way. Same thing with Connor. It's been fun hanging out with you for another hour here. Got to wake up early. Had my first coffee. I might do another one before kickoff and really get myself amped up for this game.
It feels like, Matt, that it's already like 12 o'clock and we're getting ready for the 1 o'clock games but instead it's typically 8:45. And when it is a 1 o'clock game and it's the weekend and I have to get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning for school, this is the time I typically peruse out of bed. So got up about 4 hours earlier today, but we're in business and we're ready to go. Caffeine free for me.
Love it. All right, guys, that'll do it for us. Thanks so much for hanging out. Make sure to subscribe, whether you're watching on my channel or Connor's channel. That'll do it for us. We'll catch you next week.